What happens when law, business, and life collide? Each week on Lead Counsel, your host Tom Tona will take a deep dive into topics related to the law, the business of law, and life. There will be insightful discussions with industry insiders, experts, and thought leaders making significant contributions and meaningful differences in their fields of expertise. Tom is the founder and managing attorney at TonaLaw. He has been a practicing attorney since 1994 and the leader of TonaLaw since it opened in 2001. The goal of this podcast is to provide you with free information on law and the business of law, and to give you actionable tools related to each of these areas. Now, here's Tom.
Hey, welcome back to the Lead Counsel Podcast. Your host, Tom Tona. Before we jump into today's topic, I just want to take a minute to thank the sponsors of the podcast. This episode is sponsored by TonaLaw. They're not just another law firm. They're defining what it means to fight for their clients. We get a lot of attorney referrals from across the country. We pay fee participation in all jurisdictions where it's permitted. We focus on integrity, innovation, and relentless advocacy. TonaLaw is proving that the business of law can scale without losing its heart. If you want to see how a modern firm is built for impact and happy client referrals, check out TonaLaw.com. Mention again the Lead Counsel Podcast, and I'm happy to get on the phone with you. This episode is also brought to you by Meet Gabby, the voice AI built for law firms. Gabby answers your phones 24/7, qualifies leads, and books consultations so you never miss another client. Imagine cutting intake time in half or giving every caller a 5-star experience. That's the power of Meet Gabby. Learn more at meetgabby.com. Mention the Lead Counsel Podcast. You can also hit me up, and I'm glad to make an introduction to the owner. I am here with Hunter Garnett. Hunter is an Alabama injury attorney. I think on social media, Hunter, you've called yourself the Cowboy attorney, right?
Yeah.
I like it.
It's a self-proclaimed title. I use the term cowboy very loosely.
Well, if I remember correctly, it's not that loose, aren't you? Don't you have a ranch or something that you're on as well?
Yeah, I mean, in the Southeast, the ranches are different than like in the Southwest. So I have a mini ranch.
What's a mini ranch?
Well, so like I've had 10 acres right outside of town for the last 5 years. And so that's a mini ranch. Just had a few horses there and I ride the mountains behind my house. But I just bought a bigger mini ranch, 64 acres, closer to home. And that's going to be to me, big ranch. But, anybody that grew up on a ranch in Texas or Oklahoma, they would think 60 acres that's somebody's yard.
Really?
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of work to me. I'm a city boy. So I wanted to talk to you today about the social media stuff that you're doing specifically. But before we do that, tell me a little bit about your practice when you opened up, because you're a young guy. How long were you out before you opened up, etc.?
Yes, and I'll back up just a little bit. So I was the first lawyer in my family, didn't really know any lawyers when I went to law school, and thought that would be a disadvantage because I didn't know anybody, didn't have any connections. But I got a really good job with a plaintiff side trial firm up here in Huntsville, Alabama. And within a month, I realized that the Lord had been preparing me for this my whole life. Like, I love what I do. I love my clients. And they're typically my kind of people. A lot of cowboys. I represent a lot of cowboys, a lot of blue-collar workers, farmers, school teachers, regular working class people, just like every plaintiff's lawyer for the most part. And so I started with a really good trial firm, tried a bunch of cases, wrote a bunch of briefs, started to build a book of business. And when that book of business got big enough to support me and a paralegal, I left. And that's been about 4 years ago. I merged with an older lawyer right after I started, 2 or 3 months later. And so we've been together 3.5 years or some change. And we're growing fast. We have a bilingual team, so everybody that works for me speaks Spanish, 100% PI, 98% car accidents, and just kind of a small town personal injury practice here in Huntsville.
All right. So you said a lot to unpack. And I think that, if we just go back a little bit, you did a lot of things that I think you did right? Like I hear people all the time. I mean, man, the internet is such a rabbit hole of bad advice. I'm entertained when I go on some of these groups as a lurker and somebody's like, I want to hang up my own shingle. I hate my boss. And people are like, yeah, do it. No question about finances, no plan. And they have not tried a case, right? Like, so the first thing I think that you did was brilliant is it doesn't matter. I mean, look, the number of cases you try ultimately matters if you want to be a trial lawyer, right? I tried cases. I think I did 20 cases to verdict, liability and damages in New York. It's bifurcated trials. But I think the fact that you tried cases at your, early out onset, that was something you did right, where I think that people that are opening personal injury practices and never trying a case are at a significant business disadvantage against lawyers that have tried cases. That's one. Two, the second thing you did that I think was genius was you went and you partnered up with somebody who was an older lawyer as part of it sounds like as part of succession planning for that older lawyer. So while you're very humble and your accent makes you sound even more humble and likable, I think that there's a lot of genius to what you're doing. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you about it, because you have tried cases. You do have that experience. How many cases have you tried to verdict?
I tried a dozen when I started this firm, and I stopped counting. But I try about 2 a year, so probably not quite 20, 15 to 20.
See, and that's not nothing, right? Like, that's actually a pretty good clip of trial work. And in New York, we want trials, but getting them is a whole nother thing. So maybe being in a smaller market, as you said, gets you to trial faster. I mean, do you think that that's a consideration?
Yeah, I think so. And, in small counties, you get a feel for how the system's greased, kind of how it works behind the curtain. How the judges decide what cases are going to go, how to push your cases more aggressively. So I've kind of got two brands. You want to talk about marketing later, I assume. So Madison County, where Huntsville is where probably half of my cases are. And it's a big market. It's, it'll be 1 million people pretty soon, 600, 700,000 people right now in the county. And then Morgan County is an adjacent county where I grew up, much more rural, much more blue collar. It's about 150,000 people. And I've got a decent slice of the pie in Madison County, but there's a lot of cases here. But Morgan County, I think I litigate more cases than any other lawyer in Morgan County. And so I get to push cases because my cases make up a third of the docket a lot of times, or half the docket. And so that's a real advantage because I just know the ins and outs of the courthouse, and I can control, okay, I want to try this case, this date, and I'll push these others off or settle them, whatever it might be. And sometimes you wait till right before trial and pick which one you're going to try, Right.
No, I think from a business perspective, you're just firing on all 8 cylinders. To me, that plan you laid out sounded very simple, but it's actually really elegant. And it's really actually sophisticated where, like, if I was a business coach, I'd be saying to somebody, listen, this guy did it right? Like, people hit me up all the time. Like, hey, I'm thinking about opening my own practice. I'm like, are you an expert at X? Are you an expert at PI trials? Right? Yeah, you can make a lot of money, but if you're doing it for that, you're in the wrong field. And if you have not tried a case, man, you got to put in those reps. You got to put in those 10,000 hours before you're going to be able to really make a good living doing it. Otherwise, you're not getting full value on cases. I don't care what anybody says about their negotiating prowess if they are not trying the cases.
Especially in conservative venues. I don't think you get 25 cents on the dollar in conservative venues if you're not willing to try your case.
Right. So I think that's awesome. Did you map this strategy out before you executed on it? Like, get the trial experience, try cases, and then seek out somebody as a succession plan for that person.
So I knew I wanted to try cases in law school. I liked mock trial. I went to Cumberland, and they have an exceptional mock trial program. And so I knew I wanted to try cases. That's kind of how I picked my job, because I just picked whatever industry niche I would get in the courtroom, and it happened to be personal injury. Once I figured out I really liked personal injury, not just the courtroom, but also the practice area, then I started thinking about, how do I set myself up to do this for forever, right? And I think part of that, cases are king, acquiring your own clients. That's what I started thinking about next. I had a succession plan at the existing firm that I was at, kind of in my head. They were in their mid-50s, late 50s, both partners. It was a 3-lawyer firm. And to be candid with you, it would have been a much more successful succession plan if I had been 10 years younger, less ambitious. They had been 10 years older. The timelines didn't match.
Right.
I'm 30, got a lot of really good cases. I'm listening to lots of good podcasts, reading a lot of business of law books. I'm ready to implement some outside the box ideas, case management. Going paperless. I know that
right.
Today that sounds like table stakes, but in 2019, like, that was, different time, pre-COVID. And so I got not a lot of pushback, but just not a lot of buy-in on pretty much everything. And so I had a really big case, multi-million-dollar case that I originated, did most of the work on, and we settled it. And I got a bonus out of it, and it was enough to get started on my own. And so to answer your question a little more directly, I kind of plan a year, 2, 3 years out. I don't really have big long-term 5, 20-year plans. I'm too young, and the Lord keeps changing, he keeps steering me a different direction.
Right. And you know what? Look, I mean, they make you do it as an exercise like we do EOS. We have our quarterly on Friday. And they make you do a 10-year plan, but dude, a 10-year plan, you can plan all you want. I'm 57, but like you said, I could wake up tomorrow and there's a different plan that's going to be put on me, right? So 5 and 10 years is too far out. I just read a book called The Science of Scaling, which I thought was excellent, which you pick this big goal and then you compress down the time to, okay, you want to be an 8-figure firm? What if you give yourself 12 months, 18 months to do it versus 10 years? You know what that does? That really narrows your focus. Who do I need to hire on my bus to get me there in 18 months? And more importantly, what do I need to say no to, right? Like you got to say no to a lot of stuff if you got this big, hairy, audacious goal you want to accomplish in 18 months. So I'm with you. Like 5 and 10 years, it's great. It looks good on paper, but a lot of it is just who knows what's going to happen between 5 and 10 years, especially with what we're seeing now with AI, all of that stuff. So, but again, you having the foresight to know yourself enough at that young age, and it is young, right? To say, even from your analysis of it would have been a better fit if they were 10 years older and I was 10 years younger. So
Right.
if you were 10 years younger and they were 10 years older, because age does have a lot to do with succession planning, right? I look at peak earning years from 30 to, let's say, hopefully 65. I mean, I'm 57, but that is proving true, right? So what ends up happening is if you live to the end of those earning years, you do have to then make room at the table for the up and coming generation. So, the missed opportunity is in their late 50s, they should have been thinking that way with you, right? They could have said to you, listen, you just got this big bonus rather than starting out. Buy into the practice. You're a partner and we're going to give you a say in what we do, how we do it, etc. Because that's what your current partner probably did, right? I don't know if there was a financial buy-in, but you partnering up with an older attorney as a succession model is brilliant because you're not starting at the baseline that like I started with, where I had 35 cases and I had to go out and, 20 years later, grow the firm into what it is now, right? So I think that there is a certain elegance to the way it's unfolded for you. Now, and again, you're a funny dude because I watch the stuff you put out on social media. So let's shift to the marketing stuff because I think what you're doing is really cool and you get cases from it. So what's your philosophy on marketing right now as a young guy coming up?
I'm looking for blue oceans all the time. I want to be where there aren't a bunch of other lawyers. I think that was one of the first revolutions that I had. Was I started getting cases because I grew up in a blue ocean where there are no other personal injury lawyers from my little town, my little part of Morgan County. And so at 25, 26, 27 years old, I'm getting cases because they're my grandmother's friends and they don't know another lawyer. So I found that to be very advantageous. And I just kind of expanded my influence from there in terms of that community. But some other examples of blue oceans is actually what led to me partnering with my law partner is he's bilingual. He speaks Spanish. He was the first Spanish-speaking attorney in our area. It's an underserved market. They're typically the average legal fee is a little higher, and it's just a blue ocean. You don't have, instead of fighting 50 other English-speaking personal injury firms, we've got 3 in our market that get all the Spanish cases. But more specifically on the stuff that I think anybody can apply, I think everybody should be looking for blue oceans and try to identify their target client. Okay, who's their client avatar, right? Mine started out, and it still is, my core is middle class or upper middle class, blue collar, typically evangelical Christian, politically conservative, family oriented. They're usually married with children. They usually live in a rural area, and we're in Morgan counties where we started, but we take that same client avatar and expand it from there. And so because my client avatar is a bit different than a lot of people's, trust and authority are very, very important. And so I want to always come across as trustworthy. And I think the easiest way to build trust through social media is actually authenticity. And so like I shoot a lot of content, and if I can't get something the first, second take, it's going to be fake. It's not going to be clean. And so most of my best social media content's like sitting right here at my desk. The office is empty. It's 5:30, 6 o'clock. Lighting looks good. Get a couple ideas and just shoot them like boom, 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 back to back to back. And it takes reps. You just kind of got to get used to it. But what I found is that that works. Video content on TikTok works, especially local stuff. It's a great way to build just a little bit of name recognition in the local community. I try to, if I get a newsworthy case, I try to talk to the news in all my newsworthy cases, preferably multiple times. Sometimes cases that aren't even newsworthy. You just come up with an angle like whatever it might be, an uptick in cycling accidents. That was something we covered this year. And so that's kind of the trust and authority part of it. And then we want people to like us too. So we try to do as much community giving as we can. We give away more money than we actually spend on like direct response marketing, PPC or LSAs or social media ads, anything like that. And so just last week we posted a video. I think it's called like news hijacking too.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I posted a TikTok because 2 local police officers were arrested for DUI, 2 separate incidences, same weekend. One of them caused an accident. So I told that and talked about what that person might be entitled to. And the victim called me. She saw it on TikTok. She said she had 8 people send her that video. The video had like 60,000 views, which isn't a lot, but considering my market, my metro area is like 1.4 million. Only a third of people are on TikTok. It means like 25% of the people on TikTok in my market saw my video. It's like that kind of stuff. It really works.
I think also what's super interesting is, man, you really have this incredible self-awareness, but it also gives you really crystal clear vision as far as who you're marketing to, right? So I've seen some of your posts on Facebook because we're connected on Facebook. And I go, oh man, he's talking about religion. Or, oh man, he's make a political statement. And you are really unapologetic about it. Now, again, generationally, I came up in a generation like there's a few things you don't talk about with anybody, and that's politics or religion, right? So, but it makes sense as you just explained it, because that's who your avatar is. And so you're good if you're alienating the non-avatar clients, right? Like you basically, you're very unapologetic about it. And which is why I think I like you, is that I wanted, and I already liked you from the way I saw you posting and the stuff you were putting out, because I sensed it was authentic, right? Like I'm kind of the same way. If I'm not being authentic, I'm not putting it out. And right now we're discussing with our current marketing company, AI generated content, because I'm a big believer that people want authenticity, right? So, but I get it. There's a time and place for the other stuff as well, especially I'm in about as a red ocean as you can imagine in Long Island.
Yeah.
That literally, if I throw a pen out of my office, I'll hit 4 PI firms, right? But I recently had the same epiphany as you said, reading the book. Do you ever read the book, The Marine Corps Way?
No.
By Joe Santa Maria? I don't know if you can even find it in print anymore. It's like from 2005, but it's excellent. They draw a lot of comparisons between the United States Marine Corps maneuver warfare and running a business. And in developing marketing, pick something that somebody cannot compete in. Now, without going too in depth, I have a plan I'll be talking about in my quarterly that really drills down on that, because there are still pockets of blue ocean. And it might be within your existing firm, within your existing client base, and your team is not doing it yet. Right? That much larger firms, the 800-pound gorillas, really can't compete on, right?
Yeah.
So with regard to social media, Facebook, obviously, I know you're on. TikTok, you're on. LinkedIn, I know you're on. Are you on all the major ones, including Instagram, all of that?
I'm not on Instagram personally. I think when I post on Facebook, I think it posts on Instagram too. Right. Just throw it out there. I actually have some ideas for Instagram. I think I might run like a separate, not brand, but a little different feel. I think I'm going to do some family oriented content. I'm going to do like some cute, corny stuff. I've got a newborn. He's 3.5 months old.
I know. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
And by the way, I think I'm connected to your wife too, or sometimes you'll share her post.
I share her posts a lot.
She's the same as you. So she puts out this stuff, either religion or politics wise. Again, unapologetic. Again, the old school of me is I'm like, we were taught certain things that just don't apply anymore, I guess, which is, never talk religion, never talk politics. But the fact that you guys are so authentic about it, I think it pulls in the people you're looking to target. Yeah. It makes sense.
I'll tell you, like, especially talking about my faith, like I try not to talk about politics really in person at all. There's just very rarely that you have productive conversations in person. And political stuff on social media, like I want people to just kind of think about why they believe what they believe. And it's not a marketing thing. It's not and I post about immigration a lot, immigration reform, and my target clients on my Facebook group are not pro immigration reform. But I think that they appreciate it. I think people appreciate when you take a stance and you have a well-reasoned for why you believe what you believe and you're comfortable sharing it and you do it in a respectful manner. I have found that there's a few people that are really, really progressive that I'm sure it alienates, but I have a lot of progressive friends hire me as their lawyer. They still treat me the same and they understand why I believe what I believe. But I don't really think there's anything wrong with alienating clients away from you. I think it's healthy. If you try to dominate and try to be everybody's lawyer and not offend anybody, you end up really not having any kind of super fans, you know?
Right. There's no defining character. I mean, for me, I literally just had this conversation with a client, but I say all the time, look, if there is not an inherent trust in what we're doing and how we're doing it, even with everything that we do to try to hyper communicate with you and everything else, just tell me, I'll close the file. Like, we're not going to be for everybody. I'm not trying to be for everybody. I know that we'll get a great result on the personal injury cases when we have 100% buy-in. I do notice, and I don't know if you see this in your market, you're part of John Fisher's mastermind, right?
Right.
I think I actually saw you at one of them. Did we?
I think we met. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we met in person at one of them. But we were talking about this at the last one, which is right now out in the universe of our client base or our prospective client base, there is such a high level of discord, dissatisfaction, distrust in general. Now, I don't know if that's because there's so many options out there and that the political climate's become so divided and polarized. I mean, clients want immediacy. They want it right now, immediate. Now, again, we run anywhere from 250 to 400 PI files at any given time. And I'm looking to double that, right? While still maintaining quality and client care as my number one priorities. But the climate has changed. And I think that the internet's partially the cause of that, because think about it, right? Everything is 1 to 5 stars. That's how people have been trained through Amazon, through Google, through big tech. I mean, big tech just changed the game on how people's expectations evolved. So they want it all instantaneously. But are you seeing that high level of discontent with clients, or are you just so outreach focused that you have clients that they're all raving fans? Have you noticed anything with the changing climate?
Yes. My ideal clients, I have very, very few problems with them. They're typically very appreciative. They're very low maintenance. They're not very litigious people, so it's a little harder to build the trust and to get the initial phone call. But once you spend an hour with them face to face, which I try to do with especially good cases, they're easy. They're super easy. Now, Google cases, direct response type stuff that they see 5-star reviews, they read the reviews, they didn't know me till 90 seconds ago and they call. It's a mixed bag. Some of my best clients, all my worst clients come from direct response.
Right.
So yes, I've noticed it. I try to tell everybody in my office, if you've worked for another law firm and our customer service is better than wherever you've worked, for sure. But that's not the standard. Our clients don't judge us against our competitor across the street who we might offer better service than. They compare us to their favorite restaurant, their favorite hotel, whatever kind of customer service experience they're used to across all their interactions. And so that's who we're competing with. We're competing with Chick-fil-A, right? We want to be the Chick-fil-A.
Right.
So I think when your whole team has that kind of focus, it does help a lot. We're about the size that you are. We're in the 350 to 400 range right now on files. And we're very kind of bottom heavy. I have a lot of staff, but we do a good job. And what I've found is that clients care more about the process than the actual outcome. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten a great outcome. This is mostly at my old firm. Great outcome. No other firm in town could have got that much money. But because the customer experience was unpleasant, they're not happy. Yeah, they got a big check, but they didn't know anything for 3 years. Right.
So you know what, man, listen, how old are you again? 30?
33. Yeah.
Dude, you're going to be a gajillionaire if you keep doing it the way you're doing it, because you are spitting wisdom. Like, I did not have the wisdom you have at 33. I could just tell you, I was just full of piss and vinegar. And I was like, let me try cases and bust heads. But, to be honest with you, I'll give you, for instance, one of the best pieces of advice I got recently at a mastermind came from a guy named Seth Price. You probably know Seth. Mm-hmm. And, he's like, dude, you need to dive into every area of operations in your firm. So I start calling clients, and we have this one client. We get a great result, like you just said. And I'm like, so how was your experience? She goes, listen, result was great. I'm thrilled. Would I say I would hire you again? I cannot honestly say that. And I needed to hear that, right? Because I couldn't fix and not willing to really take a hard look at And so I made an effort to call 250 clients.
Wow.
And I will tell you that my experience was exactly what you just said. So say it for the people again that are listening to this, the process is almost more important. And I say almost because people still want the result, but the result without a really good process for them to go through, you're not building fans. You're not building super fan loyalty. You're just not.
Yeah. And if you remember, the last time I reached out to you before our podcast conversation, I reached out because you had a post about your intake system and humble brag of here's how when we get a referred a case by another attorney, here's how we
Yes.
And it jumped out to me because I have been in both shoes. Okay. My old firm,
Me too.
We were all attorney referrals, and like we'd send them a letter saying, here's what the referral fee is going to be. And then in 2 years, we'd send them a check saying, here's your check. Or if it's a big one, we hand deliver it with a bottle of bourbon or something. Okay.
Right.
No updates for years. And now I'm in the shoes of kind of have to refer out some cases frequently for just relief, more cases coming in that I can work.
Right.
And I don't like being in the dark. My clients don't like being in the dark. They call me because they trust me, they know me, and it makes me look bad if my referral partner hasn't offered the same level of customer service that I have. And so I will tell anybody, I don't know if that's who listens to the show as attorneys that are getting attorney referrals, but if you want to distinguish yourself from your peers, everybody's got big verdicts, big settlements. You distinguish yourself by saying, here's our process. Here's a one piece of paper that says, if you refer us a case, here's what's going to happen from start to finish. We're going to get an update every 90 days. We're going to be on the phone with your client within an hour, 6 hours, whatever your internal process is. And that's something that lawyers are really missing out on.
Listen, and I'll expand on that a little bit because I was talking to somebody recently. They're like, you move so fast. I go, listen, what you don't understand is how hedge fund money, VC capital is changing the game, right? So when you say a couple of hours, I'm going to call a client in Long Island. If I get a referral in, I'm talking 2-minute response time. It will go to somebody else. And the hedge fund money is changing that game because they can out-resource us. They can outspend us. They can build an entire intake team that's 24/7 on the turn of a dime. So by necessity, I'm probably moving as fast as I ever have in terms of responsiveness and asking for that from my team and explaining to them like, hey, the competition is fierce. Right? If you want to be in PI, you want to help these people, it's our obligation to be responsive. So when I put that post up, I did it because the attorney had heard me on a podcast. They heard me with my ad that comes in the middle, and says, hey, give us your referrals in New York. We're immediately responsive. And they said, look, we have a New York lawyer we've been referring to for years. They just don't get back to us. So you're our new New York attorney. I said, here's my cell phone. Here's my email. Here's my assistant's name. All you got to do is text me. I'm telling you, it's a 2-minute turnaround time, and those clients will be signed up. And so, like you said, even for referral partners, it matters. They don't want to chase. They don't want to worry about the money. I'm big on, the day I get paid, all the referral fees go out. There's only the one, if it's one lawyer or whatever. And the liens are going to be paid, whatever it is, paying the vendors, paying the referrers. Everybody needs to know where the cases are all the time. That's really what it comes down to. And there's really no excuse with the level of information flow that we're capable of. But like you said, your old firm versus the firm you're in now, do they adopt it? Do they systematize it? Are they willing to entertain that? Do they even care? Some people make so much money that by the time they're my age in their late 50s, they don't care.
That's what I ran into is, they'd made money. And listen, I always try to put myself in the other person's shoes. I'm 27, 28, 29 years old. I'm a kid and I'm walking in their office saying, hey, if we do all this stuff, it'll make the firm better.
Right.
And, I wouldn't let a 27-year-old kid come in my office right now and tell me how to run my firm. And I'm 33. And so I understand, and they're making crazy money and they, even if it's a dying business model, it's not going to die overnight, right? It's going to take 10 years. They've made their money. I just looked at it and said, okay, this could work for 10 years. It's not going to work for 40 years. And I'm going to be in law for 40 years.
Right.
So it's time to leave.
Right. And look, to me, that's smart of you to read the writing on the wall and say, look, man, the game's going to change and it's fine for them. Because if the game changes for them, like I've seen people, they just close up, they retire, that's it. But depending on what your goals and aspirations are, like mine are, I've said publicly, I want to be a multi-8-figure firm, right? And then $100 million firm. That's my ultimate aspiration, which I've just looked to accelerate that timeline to all of these goals, right? After reading that last book I read. So I do think that it's the one area that we can compete against anybody is the level of customer service that we give, the level of client service and attention. You started this with the statement of, I love what I do. I love my clients. And that's why you go into personal injury. I tell people all the time, I'm like, listen, you can lie to me on this interview. I love people. I love helping people. I'm going to know in the first 30 days. I'll hear, because now, and I don't know if you guys do this. Do you, I don't know the rules in your state. Do you record phone calls?
Yeah, we're
okay.
one party.
Oh, so listen, I'm late to the game because we had it for a while. People complain, whatever. I recently said, operationally, it's not up for discussion. We have to record all calls, right? Man, do you learn what's going on the phones when you start to audit phone calls. And it's an eye-opener for firms that are like your size, my size, or bigger. And they've all gone through what I'm about to say, which is if your clients are being handled properly, give me 10 audited phone calls that show me that. Because it's only through audited phone calls that you can correct issues, that you can use for training. Like, hey, listen, do you think that this was the most empathetic way to answer this client's concern? Right. So, I think that I can see why now you were saying, look, let's talk about social media stuff, because it's not as easy as getting them in the door. I tell my team now, there's 4 components, I think, to real marketing, right? There's the top of the funnel marketing stuff, social media, whatever it is, podcast, that gets them in the door. The rest of it is keeping them in the door. Really heavy client communication, client satisfaction, and the result. Those 4 things, if you can master those 4 pieces, right? Getting them in the door with marketing, top of the funnel, and then keeping them in the door with communication, constant survey of client satisfaction, and a great result, you be the richest man in Babylon. You will be the richest man in your county, and you'll never have to worry about where the cases or the money's coming from. You just won't. So that's just the way my brain thinks, that linear systemization of what you said, which is, your philosophies both on marketing and client care. Yeah. It's all got to tie together.
It does. And I think about it like this. I can't remember his last name, but the owner of the Savannah Bananas, Jesse.
Yes.
So he spoke at Crisp a few years ago or several years ago, and it was really good. And he talked about super fans. And so and Ben Glass talks about this a lot, but I think about my cases that come from referrals. Like we all know, our best cases come from referrals, like a bullseye, like a dartboard. Okay. And out off the board, you've got people that they have no idea who you are. And then the kind of the first ring, like maybe they've heard your name, they've seen a billboard, they stumble across your PPC ad, something like that. And as you get closer and closer to the center of the bullseye, you've got people who are super fans, raving fans. They hear accident, they hear injury, they think your name, they go out of their way to recommend you. And I've found that is, those people can be good for dozens of referrals a year sometimes.
Yes.
And so I have a goal of having 1,000 super fans. Okay. People, they don't even have to have ever successfully referred me a case, but I know they're going to go their way. They're going to tag me in Facebook groups. They're going to tell friends and family. They're going to go out of their way. And the thing is too, they're not doing it for you. Okay. You don't build super fans by saying, refer me cases so that you can help me. Okay. You build super fans by saying, recommend me to people that you care about because I will care about them like their family. And they're not, your referral partners they're not doing you a favor. They're doing a favor to the person receiving the referral. So that's my kind of philosophy and that's what I try to do with social media then is just I'm trying to get everybody, if they get on my dartboard at all, I'm trying to move them closer to the center through community involvement and just showing that I'm a real person that really cares about people.
Yeah, look, I think it's extremely, extremely well thought out, everything that you just said, which is once you get to that point that they are a super fan, like you said, they're doing the favor for the person that was hurt, that was injured. Yeah. It's not about you, right? That's why when I see some of the Facebook groups, by the way, like they're personal injury groups, but they're asking such elementary questions you would not expect a practitioner of personal injury to be asking in an open forum, which is why I think a lot of people post anonymously in those groups. And I'm like, you might be better off referring that case out with that question. Like, it's just the wrong question to be asking about a serious injury case. But that's a whole different thing. Quick break to thank Meet Gabby, the voice AI that answers your phone, screen leads, and books consults 24/7. They'll even send out retainers if the person on the other end of the phone asks for a retainer. If intake is slowing you down, check out meetgabby.com. This episode is supported by TonaLaw, a modern law firm built on integrity and innovation. Learn how they're changing the game at TonaLaw.com. Attorney referrals accepted from across the country. You'll see what it's like when you send us a case. You'll have some happy clients. So is your biggest focus right now TikTok and Facebook?
No, my biggest focus is on community stuff in general. And so my biggest focus is boots on the ground, going to schools. I've got a couple really good ponies. And so this time of year, weather's good. I'll take ponies anywhere where there's going to be 50 plus kids. Okay?
Oh, that's awesome.
And then we repurpose that content.
Oh, that's got to go over huge because people love animals. People love kids. That's got to go over huge.
Yeah. And it's real, people,
right.
They engage with you. And so that's really my focus is community stuff, and then growing my list of super fans gradually. And I found that ministers, principals, longtime school teachers, Cowboys actually are pretty influential. They're a pretty close-knit group. HR directors at companies, small business owners, insurance agents, chiropractors, physical therapists. These are people that touch a lot of lives in a really intimate way. And when you build trust with them, whoever they're interacting with probably trusts them because of their title and their prior relationship. So that's a big focus for me.
Right. No, I think that's really, really smart. I think that, again, and then using social media, you're just expanding on it, right? With the community stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, I just look for ways to use social media to grow the pie. So if I meet with a chiropractor and I take him a check or take him lunch or whatever, I'll snap a picture with him, say he's the man,
Right.
And then he's got my kind of public stamp of approval. I've given him some of my goodwill that I've worked hard to build on social media.
Yeah, I saw what you did with the OB-GYN, the local OB-GYN you did recently on Facebook. I was like, this guy's brilliant. He's basically positioning himself community-wise across every practice area. Now that OB-GYN is all of a sudden you're on their radar, right, for what you do.
Yeah, and I look for little micro markets. I think this is marketing from Seth Godin, where I just look for I like the 5 to 25,000 people markets. Okay. And so I just got thinking, I was sitting in a deposition for a nurse and she was doing a great job. Very little prep needed for her deposition because she knows medicine. And she had a complicated case, an aggravation injury, had some radiofrequency ablation. So, significant injury. And she was able to articulate it better than any client I've ever had. And I was like, I love having nurse clients. I just get back and chill, give them their medical records, say, read these, be ready for questions. And so I was like, I need more nurse clients. So now kind of our next tactic strategy play is we want to build a brand with all the nurses in the community. And I think it's doable. This is kind of our first step. I'm wearing my polo today.
I saw that, the breast cancer awareness.
Yeah. Getting in the OB-GYN offices. And 2, pregnant women, their cases. Thankfully, I've never had a catastrophic pregnancy case. I don't really want one, to be candid with you, because I'm having children and those are heavy.
Yeah, they are.
The ER treat and release of a pregnant woman cases, those are high margin cases. They're easy. Yep. They're worth 2 or 3 times what a regular case is. So if you pick up 1 case a month from this little campaign, I like to think about it that way too, is I like to build a little snowball, then get it rolling downhill and just nurture it. And it's tacking on a case, 2 cases a month, and have an asset that's got some long-term value.
Right. And it builds on itself. I think, listen, again, nurses are also a treasure trove of referrals, right? Because they get seen front line. I still have people that are referring us cases, like you said, on the regular and for years. And they are good for a couple of dozen a year, right? It's kind of crazy. And those are the super fans, by the way, like you said, where I'm just a text message away. They know they can reach me at any time. So I think, there was an old school train of thought where, you don't give out your cell phone. I'm like, I give my cell phone to everybody. I don't have to answer it if I'm in the middle of something or I'm exhausted, but you be damn sure I'm going to make it a monetizable thing that I can capitalize on if I'm giving my cell phone to everybody. But that being said, I don't even do it for that reason. It's just that if I can help somebody with a text message, what does it cost? Am I too important that I can't answer a text message? No, I don't think of myself that way, so.
We have this superpower called a law degree and this knowledge of the law that regular people don't have, especially working class people. And so they're encountering something that's totally foreign to them, could be extraordinarily costly. It's huge stress on their lives. They're losing sleep. And with a 2-minute phone call or a 5-minute phone call or a 1-hour long consultation, we get to take all that burden, or as much as we can, off of their plate and solve probably the biggest problem in their life right now. And I feel like a stinking superhero. And that was so my practice shifted some. Whenever I started my practice, I thought I'm going to be the trial lawyer, catastrophic injury guy for Huntsville. And I like big cases. Every plaintiff's lawyer likes big cases, but they're heavy. You take them home, you spend hundreds or thousands of hours solving one person's major problems. And I have found that I enjoy so much helping hundreds of people at a time with a very small problem for me, very small burden. My team does most of it, and it changes their lives. I mean, $10,000 in somebody's pocket after a minor car wreck case, that's life-changing money in a rural community.
Right. How many lawyers are you right now?
So it's just me and my partner, and then we have an up-counsel lawyer we just hired about a month ago.
Really? With 400 files?
Yeah.
Okay.
I keep about 75 in litigation myself. Got 2 paralegals. I was really only litigating, like $200,000+ cases. We were just leaving so much money on the table with the below that number that it made sense to bring somebody in that handles those. Pre-lit stuff I still handle myself, but with case managers, and we just have really, really good systems, and we're real aggressive. We file about 30% of our cases, but it does have some challenges. But I've found that with the staff I have now, I can handle 75 litigation cases, 250 pre-lit cases, and it's less stress than when I was at my old firm and we were doing everything on paper. No case management system.
What case management are you using now? Filevine. Okay.
Yeah. And it's pretty good. It's a pretty good product. So anyway, but it is a lot of cases. It gets hard keeping the client straight.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that you're at that critical mass point, it sounds like, for yourself, where you'll choose, right? Like I found, and this is just me, one man's anecdote, but I have found that it's really challenging to do both. To scale a practice to the 8-figure range, right? To get 10 million or more and be the trial person. Yeah, that's a tough haul. I only know one person who's done it that's doing it successfully. One, maybe two. Otherwise, what happens is I know a lot of really heavy trial hitters, but they can't focus on the business side. And then I know a lot of really great business people. You got to hire a trial team, right? Like you got to have the ability to try the cases, or they don't have that. They're going to have to outsource those trials. So if you're in that interesting area, I'm going to be watching to see what happens, because I can just tell you've got a really good head for business. I know you know marketing, because it seems like you're crushing it right now in marketing, and doing both. It's a really tricky balance. The one guy I know who did it successfully went back and got his MBA. Have you ever heard Andrew Finkelstein?
Heard the name, I think, from John's mastermind.
Yeah, so he did a masterclass. If you ever get the chance, anybody's listening to this, that's why I'm a huge fan of the John Fisher Mastermind in general. If you get the chance to hear him speak, or any of the people that speak on the business of law in that group, it seems like they're doing it once a year in DC, where Seth Price at Blue Shark hosts the business of law the first day. They have a big speaker like that, and then they do the second day, the hot seats and stuff. Man, the guy is so inspirational. He's running 5 different law firms. He's still trying cases, but he's got it down to his science, where him and I were talking, and he said, I micromanage delegation, not people. And I found that interesting. I'm like, well, explain it more to me. He goes, I jump in at the front end and I jump in at the back end, and everything else in between is delegated, but everything that's delegated is meticulously followed up on, which if you follow Gary Vee, he talks about the 10-80-10 rule, right? He jumps in for the first 10%, delegates the next 80%, and the final 10%, right? So maybe there's something there.
That's what my vision is like, so I like to try cases, and I like the customer service aspect. I like intake, like the new client meeting. And so I'm looking to build a stable of really, really talented pretrial lawyers who are the masters of the facts of their case. They can take depositions with the best of them. And I don't really have this ego of like, I'm the best trial lawyer that there is by any means. But in my home county, I mean, like, I can try a case, because of what we're doing to acquire cases, like the trust in the courtroom. So that's kind of what my long-term vision is. My law partner's son is extraordinarily bright. He's in his second year of law school right now. He's a non-traditional student. I think he's 29. And so he's going to come practice with us. And I really think he has what it takes to be a really, really high stakes litigator. And so we are kind of building, that's part of the succession transition is I think he wants to handle 10 to 20 catastrophic injury cases cases, and we have about half that many in inventory now. And so I'm trying to get as many of those as I can, have them ready for them, keep them alive, keep working on them. And hopefully he and I in 2 years are trying cases like that.
Look, I will tell you that in speaking with Andrew Finkelstein at this last thing, they're doing something in October. I want to say it's this month or next month, the Trial Lawyers College, I think, in Chicago, Trial Lawyer Symposium. My trial lawyer is going to. Now, my trial lawyer has been trying cases for 20 years, but I say, hey, man, you want to go? It's yours to go, man. I'll send you. Because I do the business stuff, right? Like that's what I love to do. And I'm at a point now where, if I'm being candid, I spent the last 20 something years of my life just focused on business, right? So I have not tried a case in that long. And so it's too late for me to like say, oh, I'm going to go and try these monster cases. But I have the stable of lawyers to do it. And I'm willing to do it. And I'm willing to do it from a financial perspective because I think that's what's right for the clients. But I would say to you, man, like if you're going to be trying them, then that's the sword you got to sharpen, right? Now, you may have to do both because you love both sides. And maybe you are that one unicorn, right? Like, can it be done? Yes. I have not seen many people do it successfully.
Yeah.
But you seem to have the chops to do both because you've got both skill sets, right? But again, you have to keep both skill sets strong over the next 20 years. And that's a long haul to sharpen two swords at one time.
It is. And I think what it'll end up evolving is where like I probably do voir dire opening plaintiff direct, maybe the rebuttal close long term. I have a case right now that's it's an 8-figure case for sure. And I'm working it up to try it. My clients want to try it. It involves the death of a teenage girl. It's a dram shop case. And that's the case that I'm going to start going to more trial. I have not gone to any trial lawyer seminars since I started my firm because I've been working on the business side of it, to be candid with you. I was comfortable with my skill set as a trial lawyer, but now it's time. I don't have the skill set currently. I have the skill set to try a 6-figure case to verdict, maybe a low 7-figure case to verdict comfortably, confidently. I don't have the skill set to try 8 or 9-figure case.
So I was going to say to you, listen, man, I don't give unsolicited advice, but if I'm you, I'll put myself in the context of if I'm you, and I know I'm sitting on an 8-figure case. Who shows up to try that case? Now, I don't know, maybe your partner has tried 8-figure cases. If he has that reputation, great. If not, the Finkelsteins of the world, the John Ustalls of the world. I don't know if you know who John Ustall is out of Fort Lauderdale.
I don't think so.
Go on YouTube, do yourself a favor. Anybody's listening to this after this, go on YouTube and search out John Ustal, Uustal, Kelly Ustal out of Fort Lauderdale. The guy is doing 8-figure, 9-figure cases, single event. So is Andrew Finkelstein, right? So in that instance, Hunter, I would say to you, maybe it's a multi-8-figure case with that person showing up by your side. And they fly all over the country doing it. And they'll get involved with you. And this is not a commercial. I don't get anything for pushing these two guys. I'm on the side of plaintiffs that want to ring the bell against the common enemy, which is the insurance company, right? The insurance company does not want to pay you what that woman's life is worth. And you owe it to the family to get that money for them. Everything you can do in your power. Stuff can go sideways. We all know that. But I and other people across the country co-counsel on cases like this because they may not be scared of you. They already know, oh, Hunter could take a 6 or even a 7-figure number. But Hunter's never done an 8 or a 9-figure, and we're going to throw our army of lawyers against them. Bring your own army to that fight. It's worth it. I know, listen, nobody likes to split fees. Let's talk about it, right? Like open and honest, nobody wants to split fees. But and this is what I have been using as my guiding compass, just for me, I had an epiphany that if it was me in a wheelchair, or if it was me that was dead, knowing my earning capacity and how big the economics case would be, what would be the right thing for my wife? And that's what I've used to guide me. I say to my lawyers, look, if you've never tried an 8-figure case or a 9-figure case, probably not the best idea to do it ever by yourself the first time around. We'll co-counsel with a Finkelstein, a Ustal, or both of them. They're friends. Bring the pain to the insurance company, and you'll end up probably with multiple 8 figures with your name at blah, blah, blah. So again, it's just, I've taken a very holistic approach that's client first with that, where, look, I think it's really cool that you want to do it and go to those trial classes. Those are the people that you should hook up with if you go into the one in Chicago, and I think it's early November or late October. if you go look for my trial guy, bring the kid that's in law school right now, if he's not in finals, with you.
Yeah.
You know, because dude, you're doing all the right things. You're trying the cases. You're bringing the cases in. That's half the battle, is getting the cases, right? So let me ask you a question too. When you're doing jury selections, do you know a lot of the people that are on the juries because of the local nature of the practice?
Yeah. My first jury trial was the week after I passed the bar, and my aunt was on our panel. Like, the first question was like, is anybody in here related to any of these lawyers? My sweet aunt's right up in the corner, putting her hand up. So yeah, I haven't tried a case, and even really in Morgan County, you can't really get a jury without somebody that's bought a lawnmower from my dad, or went to church with my grandma, knew me from high school, and it's gonna get to be even more so through our community stuff, you know?
Right. That social media, which can work for you. But again, the community stuff, you know, again, it's going to be an issue when you're trying to put a jury together that doesn't know who you are, or, you know.
Well, we have a really high standard in Alabama for, you know, to change venues takes some real impropriety. You have to have real evidence that it's impossible to get a fair and unbiased jury in the county. And these people aren't biased against the defendants in this case. They just are going to walk in and know what my firm and I do in the community and what our general reputation is, right?
And I was going to say, and what you stand for. Because listen, we can actually wrap it on that, because I want to be respectful of your time, but you have done a masterful job of defining what you stand for. And that was one of the reasons I think you might be one of the younger people I've ever had on this podcast. But I think you're doing something really unique, really special, but I also know that you're super growth minded. Like, you're in a lot of the same circles that I'm in, that a lot of people your age might not even be paying attention to. And I think that that's why you're a standout in the space. You know what I mean? So, and I think that by being in those same circles, like, you're the only Alabama injury lawyer I know. So where are my Alabama cases going to go when they come in? Right. And so if people are listening to this and they're not in those rooms, you're not going to get the referrals for people that don't know you. So that's just an expansion of what you said earlier too. So look, I think what you're doing is awesome, man. Keep doing what you're doing, and you've got it dialed in, man. That's awesome. I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be watching what you do on the trial side too, man. I love it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah.
So
well, thanks for having me on the show.
No, anytime, man. Look, again, if people want to reach out to you, it is a lot of lawyers that listen to this. LinkedIn, you know, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you? LinkedIn?
Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm on them all the time. Yeah.
All right. I'll put everything on the show notes, and it was really awesome. I hope we get to see you in person real soon too.
Yeah. Good to see you, my friend.
Awesome, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Lead Counsel Podcast. Your host, Tom Tona. Go anywhere podcasts are distributed. Follow us. Leave us a 10-star review. Share some episodes with your friends. And thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Thank you. This episode is sponsored by TonaLaw. They're not just another law firm. They're defining what it means to fight for their clients. We get a lot of attorney referrals from across the country. We pay fee participation in all jurisdictions where it's permitted. We focus on integrity, innovation, and relentless advocacy. TonaLaw is proving that the business of law can scale without losing its heart. If you want to see how a modern firm is built for impact and happy client referrals, check out TonaLaw.com. Mention again the Lead Counsel Podcast, and I'm happy to get on the phone with you. This episode is also brought to you by Meet Gabby, the voice AI built for law firms. Gabby answers your phones 24/7, qualifies leads, and books consultations so you never miss another client. Imagine cutting intake time in half while giving every caller a 5-star experience. That's the power of Meet Gabby. Learn more at meetgabby.com. Mention the Lead Counsel Podcast. You can also hit me up, and I'm glad to make an introduction to the owner.